I'm super excited for this video because I've waited a couple weeks messing around with the Power BI output tool and making sure I understand all the hints and tips I wanted to share with you before I put it together. So Power BI output tool is now available as version 3.2.0 at the time that I'm recording this video. Inside the Alteryx gallery, you can find it there. I'll provide a link in the description so you can download it. And it shores up some of the problems with the original version of this tool, mostly around the authentication issues that the first tool presented. So I'm going to dive in and show you the tool itself, and then I'm going to take you through some of the hints and tips that I've learned as I've walked through this several times in preparation for this video. Sort of interesting that the tool itself is not the majority of the content here. Actually, a lot of the content is around the data prep piece being more important. The tool itself is actually pretty simple. So let's take a look at the tool. I'm going to go over to a fresh, clean canvas. And when you download the package from the Alteryx gallery, double click on it, install it, the Power BI output tool will show up on the connectors menu and it will be listed under Power BI output. You click on the tool and you can see I'm using version 3.2.0. So let's go ahead and drag that tool onto the canvas, and you'll see in the configuration panel two options here. One is to sign in via internet browser and the other one is to provide authentication information. The second option here is the one that the previous tool used, and it did require that you have your IT team go to your Azure portal and set up an Azure app that gave access to the Power BI service. That generated a client ID, a client secret, and then you put in your tenant ID and you can connect. Now, I still recommend this method for security reasons. I find this method to be highly secure and sustainable over months and years of running the same workflow and outputting that data to the Power BI service. However, if this isn't an option for you, you can sign in using internet browser. One of the problems with the previous tool is that it created a token and that token was only good for 24 hours, and then you had to re-authenticate, which made publishing this workflow to the gallery pretty much worthless. So now the token will last for 6 months, so you still have to set a reminder after 6 months to come in and sign back in and re-authenticate, but at least you get 6 months of time out of it. That's why I sort of recommend the authentication information if you can. If you are going to go down that route, there is a long description and instructions. Again, I will provide the link for your IT team to follow. If you scroll down on this page to the API application setup, it will describe the steps in detail that your team needs to complete in order to register the Azure portal app and have it access the Power BI service. So that's that piece. Let's head back in and configure the tool just as a sample. I'm not going to dive into it super deep, but to configure the tool, then I'm going to connect via internet browser. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to get a pop-up window. In this pop-up window, I have two accounts here. I have one which is my work account, and the other one is a service account. I've blurred these out for security purposes, but my workflow, when I am developing it, I'll use my work account, and then when I'm finally ready to publish that workflow out to the gallery, I will use the service account. Why am I doing that? The service account has multi-factor authentication turned off. So when it gets published to the gallery, there's not going to be an MFA check each time the workflow runs. Now, my Power BI account is being used, my work one, for this workflow now, and I'm going to get prompted when I log in. If you don't have MFA turned on for your account, that's weird, but okay, you don't have it turned on, fine. You won't get this prompt. So I'm going to log in. A pop-up will pop up saying you need to validate with MFA, and I have the Authenticator app on my personal phone or on my work phone, and then I just authenticate and it will say that it received a response and we're good to go. We can close this window out. Now, there's some additional data setup that I need to do here. You'll notice that there's a red exclamation point over the options, and that's because I need to either decide if I'm creating a new data set or using an existing data set. If I create a new data set, then when I go to options, I have to give that data set a name and then give it the name of the table that I wanted to create within that data set. If I'm going to choose an existing data set, then when I go to options, I can choose to append records to that data set or overwrite, keeping column names, or existing columns, or overwrite and update the columns. So those are your options. You can also change the table that it's going to write the data set to if there's more than one. So that's the basic setup of the Power BI output tool itself. Back to the workflow, and this is where I'd say things get real. Setting up the tool, not a problem. Setting up the data, that's a little bit different story. So I've pulled some data from the Chicago data portal. I'll again put the link in the description. Free data, you can play with it all you want. And in this case, I'm using the Chicago food inspections data for 2021. Let's say 15,000 records or so, maybe close to 16,000 records, so pretty small. The first thing that I noticed in trying to send the data to the Power BI service is that the violations field is too big. In fact, it's 8,000 characters wide because it's an open text field. So I had to change the input so that it took more than 8,000 characters, but then when I went to write it out, it gave me an error. So I used the autofill tool to get the right field types, and then I went and used the select tool to truncate that field to just 4,000 characters max. Now there's a more elegant way to handle this. We could have split out that field, that 8,000 character field, into two fields, and then created sort of a sequence number, sequence 1 and 2, so that when I show it in Power BI, I can put it back together again and have it be all one field. For this video, I didn't do that, but that would be the more elegant solution. Just know you have a 4,000 character limit when you're writing data out to the Power BI service. The second issue that I ran into is dates in the Power BI service did not come over correctly. So even if it was formatted as a date, you have to explicitly say that it is a date. And I believe it has to be in the ISO 8601 format. If it's not in that format, the Power BI service won't recognize it as a date. So I'm using the date tool on the parse menu. So if we go back and take a look at that real quick. The date time tool here to convert it to the correct date format. Now, the built-in Alteryx date format will go ahead and format that data correctly, so it comes over and is displayed inside the Power BI service the right way. In fact, it's this type here is what it comes out as: month, day, and for position year with slashes. Okay, so that's an important piece, and I'm actually going to keep both dates in there, the old version and the new one, so that you can see what it looks like when it messes it up. And then the other real interesting thing is that number fields, numeric fields, need to have a number in it. You cannot leave them null. If you leave them null, you're going to get an error that there was bad formatting inside that column, and it'll tell you which column it is. So I'm using the data cleansing tool to put zeros in for those particular fields. Now that may or may not be what you want. The absence of data to me is different than the presence of a zero. So that may not be what you want it to do. In that case, you may have to make changes to your workflow to get the data to load. The same thing happened with zip code. There were some restaurant addresses that did not have a zip code, so I used the formula tool to just give it a default Chicago zip code. I think there were only 6 of those that didn't have a zip code. And then at that point, we're ready to go. We can load it into the Power BI service. So I'm going to initiate the run, and then I'm going to switch over to the Power BI portal itself, and you can see the file get created as it runs. So let's go ahead and run the workflow and initiate it. It should go relatively quickly, and then I'm just going to hop over to the Power BI service and go to my workspace and data sets, and we should see the Chicago food inspections data set got loaded inside my workspace. Now I'm just going to make sure it completed 12.5 seconds, and there were no warnings, no errors, no conversion issues. We are good to go. So now I can hop over to the Power BI service and look at it, or what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up Power BI desktop itself, and we'll connect to the data. Now, connecting to this data is a little bit different than connecting to a SQL data source or an Excel data source. So we're going to go ahead and click Get Data, but we're going to choose our connection from a different set here. So we're going to choose the Power BI platform as our data source, and we're going to choose Power BI data sets. and click connect. And I should see my Chicago food inspections data listed along with other data sets that I've loaded into the workspace. So let's go ahead and sort it. You'll see Chicago food inspections is there. So we'll go ahead and choose that and click create. And my inspections data here has loaded on the side panel, and I can see the information that's available to me. Now, there are a couple things that are not available in here, and this is what you need to take into consideration as you're building your Alteryx workflow. One, you cannot transform this data, so that button is grayed out. So you can't go into Power Query and run additional Power Query steps. Okay, that's well and fine. You should have done all of that work inside Alteryx before you loaded it into Power BI anyway. The other thing that's not here is there's usually a table icon that lets you run some additional manipulations, run some DAX, do whatever you want to do to create measures. That's not available in here either. So lesson from all of this is make sure your data is already supremely perfectly formatted before you load it into the Power BI service, because you're not going to be able to make changes to it once it's been loaded into the service itself. Okay, so what I have over on the side is I'll show you some of the other real interesting things that are going to happen. So I'm just going to create a matrix here, and when we drop this matrix in, even if you're not a Power BI expert, this will sort of make sense to you. We're just going to create some pretty simple calculations here. So I'm going to do this by the facility type, and then I'm going to go ahead and count the number of license IDs that are in here. So we'll just do like a distinct count of them by the facility type. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think we're okay with that. Some of the facility types are a little bit odd, and then maybe across the top we're going to do this by the violation date. I think would probably be okay. And I'm actually going to show you what happens when we go ahead and try to filter this. So let's go ahead and bring in a filter, put this up near the top. Of course, this isn't going to look super pretty. And I'm going to do the inspection date just raw. So you can take a look at the inspection date without it being in the proper date format. And in here, I can't change this to look like a calendar or change it to a date range. It thinks it's text, and that's the way that it's going to be. Now, if I go ahead and bring in another slicer and I use the date formatted the correct way, now all of a sudden I can go ahead and manipulate this the way that I want. And if I look just sort of at the end of the year, you'll see the numbers change. I can even use relative date and time features in here, just like it was a normal date. So those are some of the weird sorts of things that you have to do to manipulate the data. Obviously, I can't create a whole heck of a lot here. I can sort of create new quick measures from this data set, but that's pretty much it. I'm not allowed to go in behind the scenes and do stuff in DAX and mQuery that I'm normally able to do. So again, it has to be super well formatted. One of the things I can tell you right away that I would normally do in a data set like this is when I look at the different facility types, you'll see banquet, banquet hall, catering, and banquets. It's in here 4 times. If this came into Power BI raw, I could use Power Query to fix this, but now I'm going to have to go back to Alteryx, fix it in Alteryx, and then have it flow into the Power BI service the correct way, since I can't make those changes here. So just some more hints and tips on the best way to do it. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this remastered version of the Power BI output tool was enlightening. I hope it's useful to you and that these hints and tips make it a lot easier for you to produce your workflows. As usual, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe. There are so few people that watch the videos that are actually subscribers, like 2%. Most people just catch them when they're posted. So make sure you subscribe to get those updates. All right, see you on the next one.